Hey, Nathan.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so exciting news.
I heard something exciting is happening.
We're going to do a live episode.
What?
Yeah, that's right.
So you can see us and not just hear us?
That's right. You can see us and hear us at the
I'm going to have to put on
time.
pants.
And we'll see you and hear you if you want to be seen and heard.
That'll be great. What's our movie?
The Wizard, 1989.
With Fred Savage?
The Wizard with Fred Savage.
It's kind of like a love letter to Nintendo, and
it is like product placement for Nintendo.
Product placement, the movie. The Power Glove.
Oh, it's so bad.
Was it Super Mario 3?
I think so. Yeah, because warp whistles, all that good stuff. It's good, but it's a bonkers movie. Watch it before you come.
Yeah, we're not going to be screening it at the thing, because then we'd have to pay the people who made The Wizard.
And you'd have to pay us.
Yes. But it's available on all the streaming platforms.
It is, for a reasonable rental. And this event is free. It's free for you to come, hang out with us, participate in our podcast. But you can, and we recommend that you reserve your seats so you know that you won't get here and find the whole place.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Full.
And then hopefully we can have a lot more live shows like this. And if it's a failure, we'll never have one again.
You'll never know. We'll run out into the audience ourselves and pretend
we promise,
to be people.
If it's a failure, we promise we'll never do another.
So please come see us August 19th, 2 p.m. You can make your reservations at nctphoenix.com or call 602-374-5638 to find out more. Hello and welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies Podcast on the Most Excellent Podcast Network. It's a podcast where a filmmaker and a comedian fall in love with the movies of the 80s, then get reincarnated and fall in love with them all over again as adults. Or maybe fall in love with their daughters. Either way, we get to look back on these 80s masterpieces with 2018 eyes. This is, chances are, a movie selection from 1989 and part one of our You've Never Seen That? Double feature.
From the director of Dirty Dancing, Alex Finch isn't himself today.
Who the hell are you?
Getting a strong German Shepherd vibration.
To guess.
Is someone else.
I'm Louis Jeffries.
I'm so glad.
You two know each other?
Is he out of his element?
No. This is bad. It's worse than I thought.
Out of his body?
It's your first time as a human?
I used to be a lawyer.
You!
My memory came back of my last life.
I beg your pardon.
You two know each other?
Or just out of his mind?
They're fooling with folios.
Philip!
Miranda, you two know each other? Peekaboo. Don't break that. It was father's. All he wants is your money.
He wants my body.
I'm going to go upstairs and take a cold shower.
Go to your room, Alex!
Go to your room. Go.
I will. Mother?
Miranda.
Alex?
Mom? Are you going through? Remember this? You two know each other?
Sybil Shepherd, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan O'Neal, and Mary Stuart Masterson.
This is incredible.
Chances are, now on video cassette.
Not to be missed.
Chances are, only from RCA Columbia Pictures Home Video.
I think this movie can be summed up with that line used twice in the trailer. You two know each other?
Yes.
That's what kind of movie this is.
That's, this, oh my God. There's so many things about this movie that we need to talk about. Who's going to be talking about them? Why, of course, filmmaker Nathan Blackwell.
Oh, hello. Hi there. And then comedian Chrissy Lenz.
That's correct. And this was my
Who has
pick.
a very deep voice.
This was my pick for when we decided to do a double feature of movies that one or the other of us hadn't seen. We kind of took two different approaches to it. You picked a movie that most people have seen and that it's surprising I haven't seen. I picked a movie no one has seen that is
I think there's going to be more
crazy.
people than I probably thought had seen. So my movie, which is going to be following after this one, is The Last Starfighter.
right.
And I saw, so I was at this last Sunday. I was for my brother Logan's birthday, who was on the Rambo episode. We went to the Starfighter Lounge
Yay!
arcade in Mesa, And they had 2 movies playing. One was The Last Starfighter, and the other one was Tron. The other one was Tron. They had them just kind of projecting on the walls. And I realized I haven't seen this effing movie in 20 years. Like, I don't know how well it's going to hold up, but I certainly know how well chances are going to.
Yeah. This is one of those movies that I like to show people because, like, it just doesn't make any sense that this was a premise that got past anybody. So this is what the IMDb summary says.
So this is a Robert Downey Jr. For those who couldn't see it in the trailer or whatever, this is a Robert Downey Jr. rom-com.
Yes. And Robert Downey Jr., Sybil Shepherd, the matchup everyone was clamoring for in 1989.
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten that Robert Downey Jr., that was kind of like his persona for like 10, 15 years.
Yep, for a long time.
Because I didn't see any of those movies.
Oh, really?
I saw him as kind of a supporting actor in like John Hughes stuff as being kind of like the acerbic, witty, cutting guy, but I never saw any of the ones of him as like the humorous romantic interest, and he did a lot of them.
He did.
From like mid 80s to like mid 90s. He did a ton of them, and I'd never.
You skipped all those. Well, I do want to talk about some of those a little bit, but I have to read the IMDb summary because you need to, if you haven't seen this, you need to know going in what this movie is about, right? So IMDb says a reincarnated man unknowingly falls in love with his own daughter from a previous life. Once he realizes this, he tries to end their relationship before angels erase his memory. That only covers a tiny bit of it.
That's that's not quite. They don't. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's super accurate.
Yeah.
The way I would rephrase it is a man who dies and then he's reincarnated, remembers his past life, and tries to hook up with his old wife again, and then feels weird about being attracted to his own daughter and tries to avoid her until he then forgets all that and wants to take the bullet train to Pound Town.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah. It's the meet cute.
And roll credits.
The way they meet cute.
You two know each other? This could have been. So this is one of those.
Is that I have an alternate title. Is that your alternate title?
Because it's a whole genre of movies where they literally could have been a play where it's a single living room stage and people are coming in and out, and it's a variety of like matchups of who is talking to each other. The whole movie is kind of based off of not everyone knowing the truth and like the suspense of like, when is he gonna find out? And it's one of those things that it's a tough line. It can be like fun and delicious, or it can be like, these fucking writers, come on, give me a break. It's like manufactured suspense.
Yes.
Like I really enjoyed like Cobra Kai, but there's so much of that. Like it's stretched out over like the last 4 episodes of like, oh, if he just told him what he really thought, or there's so many like accidental like mix-ups, like, oh, that person must be dating that person because I'm watching them from afar. Oh, I'm angry and I'm gonna walk away, and there's so much of like, you two know each other.
It's like Three's Company.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some kind of misunderstanding that we could clear up so easily.
Yeah. It's good suspense, but it makes you want to put your head through a window.
Well, and I was really surprised at how quickly the Robert Downey Jr. character just accepts that he is this reincarnated spirit.
Yeah.
And is like, no, I'm going to immediately tell.
Yes.
I'm going to come clean.
So in the 60s,
Shooter McGavin.
Yeah. So so this is Christopher McDonald. You may not recognize the name, but you'd recognize the face.
That's right.
He's played 95% of his career. He's played these dirtbags, and I kept expecting him to be a dirtbag, and I found him unlikable watching him, but not because of anything that he did.
Right.
It's because of all the other roles, and you expect him to be dislikable, and he never he never does anything that is unlikable.
No, I think this was his chance to be a rom-com, supporting actor.
Oh yeah, he was quite young, and
hadn't yet found his niche as everyone's enemy.
Right.
As the
exactly.
sleazy guy who's you're coming up against in the big golfing tournament, and or the head of the HOA who wants to keep you out, and or
Right.
everyone's enemy ever.
Yeah. And so I was.
He has resting bitch face.
Yes.
An active bitch face.
Yes.
He just has a bitch face.
Yeah.
But he is so in love with Sybil Shepherd, and they get married amid, and I get that it's the 60s, but there were at least 12,000 bridesmaids, conservatively. And they all had giant little Bo Peep hats at this wedding. And at the altar, Ryan O'Neal, his best friend, confesses to being in love with Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah. So you've got kind of like two guy friends and a girl. They're inseparable. It's kind of like Jules and Jim, to where both are in love with the woman. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of awkward, but yet they all three love each other so much.
He lets himself into their home.
Yeah.
On their anniversary, like early in the morning, through a hide key. Which, can we talk about that? Because the hide key is hanging on the front fucking window. No one's hiding that key.
It was a different time.
You've got a key to your front door. Why didn't he just put the key on a keychain?
Why didn't he just have a key?
That's yeah. Because anybody who observed them, even casually, could be like, oh, I'm going to break into that Richie rich house. These are extraordinarily wealthy people.
Yeah. Well, they had to show that they were such close besties that he would just let himself in.
Let himself in,
and
on
if
the
he
morning
had
of
his
their
own,
anniversary.
if he had his own key, then they're like, what, is that actually his house? Mm-hmm.
Okay. But yeah, he lets himself in while they're having intimate husband-wife time with like champagne and a tree. And he's like, hey.
First thing in the morning.
I'm here. Third wheel here.
Third wheel here. And they're not bummed out at all. They're like, oh, he's here.
Yeah. And they tell him that they're expecting a baby. He's thrilled. Everybody kisses on the lips. Mm-hmm. And we get would you call it a B story of the judge?
It's C. It's buried deep. It's not until like that's the thing. I expected it. So it's tied into his death to a degree. Like I thought, I was expecting it to be like, oh my gosh, he's killed off or something. But it turned out it was just an accident. Like he had just got hit by a car. But
do you think it would have made it a more compelling movie if he discovers a judge? He's a lawyer, and he discovers that the judge who's overseeing his racketeering mob case throws out all the evidence, and based on a tip from Ryan O'Neal, he sees him taking a bribe, snaps a picture, but he's killed that night. Do you think it would have made it more compelling if he'd have been discovered and run down in the street purposefully? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Anyway, he goes to heaven.
Dear filmmakers.
There's another C story too of the earrings and of the being a reporter. There's a lot of C stories, but he goes to heaven and so enamored is he of his wife and needing to be with her that he just rushes into the first available baby. And he doesn't get his injection of forget-me-nows. And smash cut to...
I realized it's like back in the 80s, we were way more accepting that heaven was like a real thing.
And then it just had low fog.
Yeah, it was like the classic Christian white heaven of like...
only white people.
Yeah.
Wearing white, doing white people things. And it's like basically an airport waiting room.
Like an airport in Sun City or something like that, yeah.
And everyone has silver foil pocket squares. That's how you know you're speaking with an angel. So then we meet Robert Downey Jr., who is, as you said, not a huge star at this time, but he had made his mark. He's definitely the guy to get. Everybody loves him. He's done Less Than Zero and The Pickup Artist. Those are kind of his big things. But all of the rest of his rom-coms of the early 90s and such are still to come.
Right. So what are some of those movies? We've got
Only You.
Right.
With Marissa Tomei.
Heart and Souls.
That's going to be my deep cut recommendation.
From the 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
There's just a lot of them like that.
Again, all movies I haven't seen.
Well, and a lot of them you can skip. I mean, okay, so Robert Downey Jr. is one of those guys, and I think Rob Lowe is the same, where you look at them in the 80s in their young selves, they're not fully baked yet. They're too beautiful almost. Like, it's like looking at the sun.
Oh, yeah. Like,
you have to look away.
Yeah, like Robert Downey Jr. during this age, he looks like he perpetually has, like he's got a baby face, like he's got too much makeup on, but he doesn't have too much makeup on. He's just so
He looks
fresh-faced
exactly like the digital version of him in Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
Which is why that was so deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
But I think...
He naturally looks like he's in the uncanny valley.
Yes. But he and Robert Downey... No, he is Robert Downey Jr. Who's the other guy I said?
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe. They both look so much better now.
They're so pretty.
As older men.
That's the thing, yeah.
That you get a few wrinkles on that face, you get a little silver in the hair, and all of a sudden it's a whole new ballgame, which no one would ever say about a woman their age. Right? Okay, so after Chances Are, he does Air America with Sleazebag Gibson. And then Soap Dish in 91, Chaplin 92, he was nominated.
Oh, yeah, he was great in Chaplin. I don't know if he won.
At the very least nominated.
Yeah.
Heart and Souls, blah, blah. He's in Natural Born Killers, which I remember was a little bit of a, like, oh, Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Only You with Marissa Tomei, Home for the Holidays.
So he's still definitely in that zone.
Yeah.
I felt like he was starting to like, oh, Robert Downey Jr., wow, he was really good. I haven't seen him in anything in a couple of years, like in Zodiac.
Yeah,
which was like, what, 2003 or something? 2004?
He's making some bad movies. We've got In Dreams in 99, which was a...
supporting.
Bowfinger, Wonder Boys... all supporting.
So yeah, very minor supporting, kind of peppered in for personality at this point.
And then Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005.
Right.
Good Night and Good Luck 2005.
So yeah, Kiss Kiss
Scanner
Bang
Darkly.
Bang was definitely more of a
and then Zodiac.
starting to rebrand his personality there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Zodiac and then Iron Man 2008.
Yeah.
Not back to back, but yeah, this is sort of the story of Robert Downey Jr. So Robert Downey Jr. is... How old do you think he is? If you had to guess.
Is it 89? What year is
this? This movie is 89? Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, he's not 89,
no.
Nathan.
I'm going to guess 27.
In the time of this movie?
26.
How old do you think he is now?
Oh, I'm not going to...
Because I would have to do math to figure that out.
Right. I'm going to guess 26 in this movie.
But how old do you think he is now? Because that's what I could look up.
54.
53. See?
Oh,
so
okay.
Let's say you're spot on. So he's the same age as Catherine Zeta-Jones, Nicole Kidman.
So about now, Catherine Zeta-Jones was like... She looked super young when around this time. Because I remember her in The Phantom. Mm-hmm. And that was like, what, 90, 91? Something.
Yeah, I just think like the comparison of like looking at him being like, he looks so much more handsome as an older man, you know, like how many of us look at Catherine Zeta-Jones and be like, you know, she really came into her face in her 50s. Anyway, let's move on.
I think prime Zeta-Jones was 30.
Yeah, but like, you know, prime dudes is in their 50s, so...
Oh, good.
So my times are behind me and yours are ahead of you. Congratulations, Nathan.
Thank you.
Okay, so then
I'm sorry there's only one winner, but if it had to be.
So he meets the daughter at a library, and he's cute and charming to her, and then that's it. And then he meets, just coincidentally, Ryan O'Neal while he's in the moment where this becomes a slapstick comedy.
Yeah, so it wasn't immediately clear, but it wasn't necessary, that I thought it wouldn't be interesting to have been born and to remember your past life immediately. Mm-hmm. And then you're going through your 20s, you know, all the way up to your 20s, and you're remembering what it was like to be born. So you're actually like 40 or 50 at that point, and you're remembering your whole life as a kid. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
Like, to just like go through the motions and the necessary things. Like you can't run off and confess to your old to your old love, like at least until you're 18.
You gotta wait.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be interesting to live a full life even as a kid with an adult soul
brain
in you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. It's like, oh wow, Robert Downey Jr. is way more charismatic than the old guy, and that makes sense. It took 20 years or so
for him to ripen.
Right, but then we realize, okay, he doesn't know. Mm-mm. And it basically takes a blow to his head or like kind of like that's the thing that knocks him out of his.
It triggers his memory. So he meets Ryan O'Neal, and that guy's just like, oh, there's something about you. You got chutzpah, kid. Why don't you come with me? I'm going to invite you, a stranger, to someone else's house where 2 single women live alone. Please join me.
Stay here if you want. I've got to go.
I just hit the table so hard. He's homeless. He lives in his car. And so this dude's like...
So yeah, Robert Downey Jr. wants to be a reporter, which Ryan O'Neal is. He goes to D.C., living in his car, and he's got the chutzpah, and he basically sneaks into the building.
Dressed as a chef.
Yeah, and then tries to get into tries to get a job there.
So Ryan O'Neal brings him home to Sybil Shepherd's house, basically, where he's like, what? Oh, Miranda? Oh, you two know each other? That's our first. And then when he sees Sybil Shepherd out by the tree with Ryan O'Neal, it triggers a memory, and he goes into one of those, like, freak out things where he's like, what am I seeing? I don't really know. He proceeds to act like an insane person who's high on bath salts for the entirety of this meal that they have together.
Yeah.
At the dining room table, he's like smashing his face into things. And
and they would normally be thinking, it's like, oh, this kid is high. Let's help him out, but let's not have him stay here.
I think the title of this movie should be, Bitch, you don't know him. Because I wrote that at least 12 times.
Wait, you two know each other?
No, bitch, you don't know him. Like, they're like, he's behaving very strangely. Let's invite him. Let's let him sleep in our home, 2 single women. He's acting like someone who's insane. And then they just proceed to let him stay there as long as he fucking wants. She gives him house keys and keys to her car. They let him wear their dead father's tuxedo and accompany them to a gala. They don't know him.
Yeah, and she has a really... I mean, I can understand... You know, you're always going to be sad about your first husband or your first love or whatever, but she is just clinging on. It's 23 years later, and it's like... Okay, I could understand not wanting to date anymore, or just like, okay, I had a good shot at it.
You just close up shop, you brick it up down there.
But she's like pouring a separate glass of wine for his portrait 23 years later,
and giving him a York peppermint patty.
Yeah, it is definitely unhealthy. Which, I mean, even the psychiatrist says so.
Yeah, and he's like, basically, I cannot help you. I've told you, you need to. There's nothing I can say to you. You gots to go. He reminded me a little bit of the psychiatrist from Overboard, because he's just like, what am I here for? You're crazy. And she really is. She has lived the last 23 years basically with Ryan O'Neal being her co-parent and partner in life, just 100% blind to the fact that they're in love.
Right. Oh, no, we can't be. No, we can't be in love. I would never. It's too soon to tell her. And
there was never a right time. Louis was always there with us. And Robert Downey Jr. as Louis, like, really does try and push Ryan O'Neal right out the door. He's like, get out of here, you. I've got my old wife to bone. This movie is nuts. But he comes right out. Like, he cuts right to the chase as soon as he realizes that he is the reborn.
As soon as he remembers, his old Robert Downey Jr. personality is effectively supplanted. He goes to the hidden place, the sunken place, and then you've got the new personality taking over. So there's what I expected there to be. It's like a battle of the 2 personalities over what they want, and so that doesn't happen.
No, it really doesn't.
No. So, like, where that would have been funny is Robert Downey Jr. was originally, interested in the daughter, Mary Stuart Masterson, and it would have been more comical or interesting as if dad versus suitor were both in Robert Downey Jr. trying to fight over control, but instead it's just like, oh no, but don't wear that. Put all the dad stuff, like, it's like wear something less revealing, and it's like no, we can't. Girls, and So he's completely the old.
Yeah, there's no point at all where young Robert Downey Jr. is like, wait a minute, maybe I want to take the wheel for a minute. He just immediately is like, no, I'm this guy, and I want to convince Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, we can't necessarily say that would have been better, but it would have been at least a little more complex.
I think there would have been more acting to do.
Yeah, if he's acting acting with himself, like Robert Downey Jr. could have done that well.
Yeah. Kind of, it would make me think of Steve Martin in All of Me.
Yeah.
Where he's wrestling with Lily Tomlin
for
control of his body.
Yeah.
I think he could have done that, but that's not what they care about. He immediately goes to her work and is like, hey, what's up?
Right.
Don't freak out. I'm the reincarnated version of your husband. And all she does is calmly ask him to leave.
Yeah. Really in some ways, Robert Downey Jr. is the angel who's here to show up to make sure that Sybil Shepherd and Ryan O'Neal are ripe and randy again.
Yes. Well, and there's a little bit of a back and forth. And then she's like, no, I buy it. You're Louis. You come back to me. Let's go to the park. They have a day together. Mm-hmm.
And they are so randy for each other.
Then they're like, let's go home and bone. But she doesn't want to because it's been 23 years since she closed up shop. I love her underpants, by the way. But so Sybil Shepherd in this movie has the most beautiful lingerie. And that's what it is. It's lingerie. So she's got, really beautiful camisoles and really elaborate bras and these high-waisted shorts that go over the underpants. It's a whole to-do. She has these beautiful negligees that fit her body perfectly, which made me wonder, so are those still the ones from the 60s, and 23 years later this woman in her late 40s still fits perfectly into her pre-pregnancy lingerie from her 20s? If so, damn. Or is she buying lingerie strictly for herself? Which shouldn't we all have the confidence?
Self-romance.
And yeah, exactly. She's just buying them to lounge around and serve York peppermint patties to her dead husband's framed photo. Either way, her collection is on point. She's got beautiful underpants. Anyway, so they're going to take it to Pound Town. And at that moment, Ryan O'Neal walks in on them.
Yeah. I've got something to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a fight ensues. RDJ, being 20, knocks out the older gentleman.
Right.
And then Sybil Shepherd's immediately like, poof, the spell is broken.
Right. She's like, no, you've hurt him. I love him.
It's such a
180. It's such a 180.
And then she 180s again.
Yeah.
And slips a note under the door for Robert Downey Jr. that says, I can't imagine what I was thinking. I'll see you at midnight.
Yeah, so this is where we've gotten into that kind of like a stage play.
Yep, it's a farce.
Yeah, comedy farce.
It's noises off meets.
Where it like 8 times everything gets reversed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, you've got the confusion of who is which person. Someone's in disguise, and I thought they were doing this, and you know each other.
Yep. Because what Robert Downey Jr. he has about 15 minutes of soul searching.
Yeah. And
he realizes that Ryan O'Neal and Sybil Shepherd should be together. I don't know what he thinks he's going to do with himself. He basically
and again, like
it.
if he was wrestling with his old personality, his new personality, he could say, "Kid, this is your life. I had my chance.
Yeah.
Why don't you drive now?"
Yes, exactly. That would be such a nice moment of him like just arguing with himself, like Robert Downey Jr. being like, "Can't you see they belong together? You had you're dead, man. Let go." And then for him to like have that realization, and I guess it's they're showing us, not telling us, except they're also not showing us.
Right.
So he basically engineers a hookup with Sybil and Ryan O'Neal, and then for some reason goes to watch Mary Stuart Masterson, the daughter, do a mock trial. At this point, C-plot comes into the fore.
Right. Just so you know, the C-plot like takes up 90 seconds of screen time.
Give or take. So he goes to watch her do a real trial or a mock trial? Because she's still a student at Yale. Am I wrong?
Maybe she's watching a trial, or I don't know what. Yeah, I would be lying if I was paying a lot of attention at this point.
There is a really cute moment between she and the daughter and Sybil Shepherd, the mom, where she's like, your first power suit. And it's the ugliest damn thing, and I really loved it.
Sort of coming back to their weird family dynamic, there's a moment where Mary Stuart Masterson thinks Sybil Shepherd hooked up with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh.
She kicks open the door, she finds Ryan O'Neal, and she's...
naked!
And she's delighted, and they've got this... She's like, I want details, and everyone's like, oh,
that was so gross.
Yeah, Ryan O'Neal is like delighted she came in. It's not like, oh my god, no, what are you doing here? There's no embarrassment.
No, she climbs onto the bed where he is under the sheets,
right,
nude. We assume she just stomps right up there and like kisses him on the face.
Oh yeah, they full on hug.
He is fully nude.
Their bodies press against each other.
It's so, hey, at least they're sex positive.
Yes.
You know, for the late 80s, that was pretty progressive.
Yes. We're being bad Americans right now.
No details for you.
Look,
no.
We want everyone to be sex positive, but there should also be shame still.
I was going to say boundaries, but sure, shame. Yeah. Let's do that.
There's no reason we can't have both.
And I mean, I wish I could say that there were some like deep issues that this movie taps into while they're out on their carnival date. She gets a hot dog and the vendor's like, oh no, your son paid. And like, they don't really explore that either, or what is going to be the fallout of if they were to be together, of a 43-year-old woman and a 46-year-old woman and a 23-year-old man.
Yeah, the social concerns. Like if a friend saw them together or something like that, like what would be the reality of this future of them together?
Mm-hmm. Because he says to her at some point, I want to have at least 2 more babies. Mm-hmm. It's not too late for that, right? And she's like, well, no, technically, I guess it's not. They've known this person for 3 days. Meanwhile, Miranda's like, I think I'm in love with him. It's like, bitch, you don't know him. And what you do know about him is that he's an insane person who has never once behaved like someone you would want to have in your life. If this had turned a sharp left and he murdered them all, I think that would have been...
This would have been a Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he was fooling them all along.
Well, he is at several points assaulting her. In her office, in the house, like he is like forcing her down and being like, no, you will kiss me and then you will see. No, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that.
The 80s.
Right? So another possible alternate ending, she dies in an accident.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, like, they're having that big confrontation. Ryan O'Neal's like, no, I love her. Are you really the reincarnated version? What? She runs out into the street. Boom. Hit by a car.
Yeah, if you wanted to maximize the incest, you would take Robert Downey Jr., Mary Stuart Masterson. They would get married. They'd have a kid, and it'd be Sybil Shepherd. They're new, so she gets killed.
She comes on back.
Yeah, she comes on back as their daughter.
Oh my god! Can we talk about the first car accident though? Because I don't think that would have killed him unless he like really has a glass skull. He gets hit by a slow-moving car.
Well, maybe he had a condition.
Maybe, but he's also like he's standing on the other side of the street, marveling at her beauty. A car passes by. A car passes by. He literally holds up one finger, like you just wait.
Yeah.
Safety first.
It's probably real. Boom. It's probably real life realistic. It's just not movie realistic where we're used to people, getting crushed and being hit by. Like I fully expect at one point in my life that I'll just trip over my sandals and I'll just hit the ground and I'm dead.
Oh no!
Or choke on a cherry or something like that.
Well, there are other movies where people get shot 6 times and hit by several cars. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure John Wick gets hit by a car going 100 miles an hour and just slightly limps away. Yeah. This guy just drops dead.
So if anything, we're numb.
Yeah. It doesn't convince me.
We're numb to the charm and simple naivete of the 80s of
killing people.
Yeah.
So
death and killing.
The C story resolves itself because he remembers that there's a photograph.
Yeah, that he took an incriminating photograph of the judge getting paid off.
And
by the mob boss personally?
Personally. In person. In a photographical. There's evidence.
Yes.
And that evidence helps Robert Downey Jr. to secure a job as a reporter at the paper once he has been fully mind erased. Mm-hmm. So he's mind erased.
Yes.
But,
So finally, the angel shows up who missed his... So it's an inoculation that makes you forget your old life.
Forget me nows.
Yeah. It took him 23 years to finally track down Robert Downey Jr. And give him his inoculation.
Mm-hmm. And so he forgets, but...
Wouldn't it have been easy to inoculate a baby?
Yeah, catch that baby. He knew where he was sending him, too.
Yeah.
He knew exactly where he was going. But then also, like, Sybil Shepherd and Ryan O'Neal, who are fully convinced now that was Louis in there, have to then go on with the knowledge that he's still the reincarnation of her dad, but now that his soul has... The Louis part of him is gone. And has been recycled into Robert Downey Jr.
So
right?
so here's the let's talk
that right?
let's talk about the fictitious sequel. Okay.
So because I have a reboot idea.
Okay, here's our reboot. Okay, so Robert Downey Jr. and Mary Stuart Masterson are married, and they break the news to him that he used to be Louis. At the same time, Sybil Shepherd dies and is reborn as their daughter.
Oh, good God!
And so, but she this time remembers as a baby her old life immediately. And hilarity ensues.
Oh my goodness. So here's what if I were going to reboot this, I would do...
I mean, it's the creepier version.
Yeah.
The way you do is you make Sybil Shepherd having remembered her entire life, but now she's 18 or 16.
And isn't that kind of Peggy Sue Got Married? Like, am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe I didn't remember that movie as well as I thought I did. It's the opposite of that. Yeah, how creepy to be a child with an adult's knowledge. Ugh, I don't like the idea. So I'm going to say let's reboot this, but let's have Robert Downey Jr. play the Sybil Shepherd role. And it's the wife that dies and is so in love with the husband that she has to reincarnate herself to find him.
Yeah.
Does that does that make it less creepy or more creepy?
In some ways,
I think it makes it more believable that like Robert Downey Jr. at 53 would be married to a 20-year-old.
Yes, that's more believable. But it would be maybe more negative that she's going to die and she needs him. She needs to be with him again.
Yeah.
To be happy again.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, we all want love, and we have trouble getting it.
That's right.
And but it's time for some more positive.
There is a very sweet wedding at the end where Tatum O'Neal and Sybil Shepherd are getting married, and that's pretty sweet. I thought that was a nice button. Did you? You're rolling your eyes.
It's fine. I mean,
It's fine.
It wasn't.
She's got this Laura Ashley dress though. That's like
it was a standard wedding. There wasn't
so 80s, so perfectly 80s. By the way, these people are all this. Like my alternate title, besides "Bitch You Don't Know Him," is "White Privilege the Movie."
white privilege.
Because these people are just in such a rich bubble. They have no fear of...
It's definitely upper society.
Yeah. They have no fear at all for their own safety when they bring this young white homeless boy into their house.
And for that, they should be ashamed. They've got... Yeah, it's definitely more kind of... I'd say like the Woody Allen version of New York, to where it's like the white upper class.
Yeah.
But obviously this is in D.C. and it's a little more. The tone is different, but
also Robert Downey Jr. is the best man in this wedding.
It's a comedy of and
he's
it's
only
like
known them a week.
Yeah, it's definitely like those comedy of manners, more style of shape. This is a stage play.
Yeah.
I wonder if whatever it was, like I'm interested, like if what the writer has done also.
So I did a little bit of reading about that. There's not a lot to say about this movie. Like this isn't one of those ones that people are like, can you believe this crazy movie? But like basically the writers were just
right.
inspired.
It doesn't jump all of the sharks.
No. And it plays it pretty straight.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go for very much
This can
comedy.
totally be one of those movies that you see until you're like up until you're like 16 or whatever, and think there's nothing wrong with it, and then when you come back as an adult, it's like there are some weird angles on this.
Well, that's what it was for me. My parents loved this movie.
Oh, yeah.
They thought it was so cute and charming. So I saw it oodles of times when I was a kid. And it wasn't until later in life that I was like, wait, that's messed up. That guy was in love with his own daughter. But yeah, I mean, I think they could have played it for more comedy. I think they could have played it for more drama. So the guy who directed it was, obviously, as the trailer said, the director of Dirty Dancing. And I did read that the writers were inspired by the story of their aunt, who so loved her husband, who tragically died, that she just boarded it up and remained committed to him until the day she died 60 years later. And they were like,
hilarious.
And they were like, isn't that sweet? Let's make a movie about that. And
see, I know why you chose this movie. It's
why?
Because your obsession with creepy, weird mannequins.
Wait, where are there creepy weird
She's got all the mannequins of the first ladies.
Oh my God, you're right. And they are hideous, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are full on creepy. There's even one where it's like, go get yourself a girlfriend, and then they walk away and it's just him standing with all the mannequins behind him, and it's like, well, there's your option.
Yeah.
Right there. We just saw a mannequin.
You're right. Nathan, what if I have some kind of mannequin thing?
Look, I think there are many different types of people.
I need help.
And again, we all need love.
Don't tell anyone.
These are the problems when you program a child's brain by watching Mannequin over and over again.
And then chances are over and over again. Oh my God. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how many incriminating photographs of judges and mob bosses? Wait. Right. On a scale of 1 mannequin of a first lady.
Yes.
The Eleanor Roosevelt one, to a scale of 10 mannequins of first ladies.
Which would be
the Jackie Kennedy?
Or one we didn't see. Let's just be optimistic.
We didn't even talk about that whole scene where a woman gives $2 million just because
it's a personal check. It's a personal check.
It'd be just because she danced.
I don't think a bank would take that.
She also died because
almost
of how
died.
Thrilled she was just to pat him on the tush a couple times.
Oh yeah, she was way into that.
There were other young men there,
yeah.
And she just was like grabbing his tush.
There's lots to see.
Yeah, okay, but do you recommend people see this movie?
I can't necessarily.
I can't either. I think that just take our word for it.
I think I've been rating some of these movies a little too high.
Do you?
Maybe.
I don't think I'm going to rate this one high. I give it 5 mannequins of first ladies.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 5, and I think that's generous.
I think it is too.
I mean, for us, it's like, I feel like 4 or 3 or anything in that zone, like I really have to dislike it.
Yeah.
Like 5 is like, poor. Like 5 to me is like, poor. You know, like
it's fun to talk about, but
6,
it
6
wasn't
is okay.
fun to
7
watch.
is like good. 8 is like,
better than good.
Well, yeah, like ultra good.
Awesome, fantastic.
Yeah. And then like 9 or 10 are like excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this movie was fun to talk about, but not fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this is 5 incriminating judge photos.
Yeah, I think it is. The plot is weird, but the performances and the execution of it is not.
I'd almost say that this would be a good double feature with Mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
Only if, like, you start with Mannequin and you're like, assume this is more of a girls' night. It's white.
There you go with that again.
White wine and... So this is like after you're kind of bleary-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little more charming once you're like a bottle and a half.
The whole group of us, or just one person?
Just one person. That's how I imagine.
And then you
this
just
night.
start crying and trying to feed
York
peppermint
and then you're
patties.
Sleeping during certain sections of that, and you're thinking, this was a good double feature.
Or maybe just forget this movie exists.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what is your deep cut recommendation?
Why don't you go first as I think of one?
Oh, okay. So my deep cut recommendation is going to be the movie Heart and Souls from 1991, which, let me tell you, my parents also love that movie, and so we watched it quite a bit. But I haven't gone back to watch it as an adult, so it may not be good. But I remember it as being good, and basically the plot is that there's a bus accident in the 60s. Again, so many vehicular deaths in the 60s. And all the souls that can't move on, who are in this bus, latch on to the nearest baby, who grows up to be Robert Downey Jr. And, of course, in order to cope and get through life, he has had to... When he's a baby, he can see them, he talks to them, they play... They're his imaginary friends. But, of course, that makes you a crazy person, so they get him to stop all that. And then suddenly, when he's an adult, some sort of time clock gets initiated, and so these trapped souls realize they need to not only convince him that they're real, but also to get him to help them resolve whatever their life issue was so that they can move on. And one of them is Kira Sedgwick. One of them is Tom Sizemore. And that's all I can remember. But they have to, like, convince him that that he needs to help them.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't seen the movie, but I remember it from like these series of movie magic VHS tapes that used to be at the TV station I worked at, and then they highlighted this movie because it was one of what was when they finally figured out how to do wire removal.
Oh,
and so they had like all these people floating down, like the souls are floating down, and they're able to digitally remove the wires.
Oh, wow. So, let's see, who else is in it?
For wire removal aficionados, this is an important movie.
It is. Go back and watch it. Elizabeth Shue is in it. Alfre Woodard. Charles Grodin. So, this might be it might be good. I remember it as being cute, but, like, somebody obviously was like, oh, let's get Robert Downey Jr. He is so good with trapped soul movies. That's your double feature. Mm-hmm. It's your Robert Downey Jr. trapped soul double feature. Maybe Fried Green Tomatoes if you want to see a better Mary Stuart Masterson movie.
I like your first one.
Okay. I recommend Men in Their 50s.
That's my deep.
That's my deep cut recommendation. Find you a silver fox.
Okay, so my deep cut recommendation is not going to be super specific.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be finding another one of these like comedy of misunderstandings or comedy of errors. I'm totally blanking out, but I feel like that's kind of like this is like the modern. When I say modern, there's like a title card in the movie that says present day, and I feel like that can get that can be. Maybe we want to not use that as much anymore because it's really only good for like about 10 years. It's like, oh, present day. Oh, wow, 2015. It's like,
wait a minute. No, it's not. Look at those shoulder pads.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait, it's not 2015. It's 2018.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah.
We've got cell phones now.
Right.
So you recommend farce?
Yeah, so I recommend a farce like The Tempest or something like that where it's like a comedy of errors.
Noises Off, maybe Death at a Funeral.
Yeah, and the 80s version is really just kind of it's like when I say the modern, I mean the 80s, the modern version of that same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's really what this is. It's really just really a stage play.
So this movie was nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes because of the song that barely plays in the movie, not Chances Are by Johnny Mathis. Chances Are.
Right.
Because of the Cher song.
Oh, yeah, at the end.
After All, right? After all that we've been through.
We've got to plug The Last Starfighter.
Oh, we do, yes. So, be sure to join us next time on the Most Excellent 80s Movie Podcast, where we're watching The Last Starfighter from 1984, a movie I have never seen.
And I haven't seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
It will not hold up.
So don't forget, to rate, review, go on, give us 5 stars. Or
Chrissy, I hear we have a review.
Oh, do we?
That's right.
Let's
so
take a peek.
if you write us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, are we anywhere else? Is it mainly just those two?
We're everywhere else, but there's just
there's no
place
one
else
there.
worth. Yeah.
Right. We will either reward you or punish you by reading your review. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. Oh, I heard we got a new one.
We did. This is a 5-star review from DRB Dog 33. What a fun pod! ! I really like this show and the movie Mannequin. I also really love that Nathan Blackwell. He sounds sexy. And at least one person found this helpful. I suspect it was you.
It was.
But thank you for that review. Please keep those reviews coming because we want them. We need them. Help people find us. Go on to our Facebook group. Most Excellent 80s Movies on Facebook. And, like, thumbs up wherever you listen. Do the review thing. You know how this works.
I did find that helpful.
You did find it helpful.
All right.
So many ways. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, when you're out there in the world, be excellent to each other. And after all the stops and starts, we can come back to these two songs. Two angels who've been rescued.
It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
Yep. Feel free to tune out of our podcast now or listen to the trailer for The Wizard.
To California, please.
It's $226.
Well, we only have $27.30. What does that get us?
Nowhere.
Corey's taking his brother Jimmy on a ride.
These two boys already traveled more than 80 miles across the state.
We've hired someone to find him.
What's his problem? He's just shy.
But Jimmy's got a secret
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
that could make this the ride of their lives.
Look at him. He's a wizard. He's headed for the video championship.
This guy?
What is that?
Power glove.
Yeah, well, just keep your power gloves up front, right?
With a touch of romance
I am not kissing a boy.
and a ton of trouble.
That's huge.
We're too late.
Sorry about that. You maniac!
They'll get there any way they can.
Jimmy! Here we come!
It's Jimmy! It's Jimmy!
Come here! Hey!
Now, what do you think you're doing to him?
I'll just let you tell him to do what you want him to do. How about once you ask him what he wants to do, huh?
Now,
Video Armageddon.
it's going to take a lot of guts,
You can do it!
a little magic,
You're the best!
and the wizard, Fred Savage. The Wizard.
Fred Savage billed ahead of Christian Slater and one of the bridges is.
If you secretly wish that Over the Top was actually them playing video games, this is the movie for you.
So join us. Yay!